Knock on the Saints door. Quarterback sneak by Tom Brady to the 43-year-old score. He did. Touchdown, Tampa Bay. Now spiked that ball, Tom Brady. Who says I'm 43? He runs right up the gut and scores 6. 7. Handoff, run the ball. Fournette slashes away to the 40, to the 35, to the 30, to the 30, 25, to the 20. Fournette to the 10, 5, 3, 2, 1. Touchdown, Tampa Bay. Run the ball, Leonard Fournette. Wow, what a blast up the gut, found daylight, and outran everybody. Fire the cannons, get them going. Bucs win. Bucs win, Bucs win. Fire them cannons.
First snap in Vikings territory for Tampa Bay. Brady all day. Downfield. Touchdown, Scott Miller. Four-man rush. Brady airing it out, going deep. He's got it to Antonio Brown. Touchdown, Tampa Bay. Ronald Jones will get it. Big hole. Jones gets by. Ronald Jones may go all the way. Being chased from behind. Does Jones have enough? Still on his feet. Ronald Jones, 98-yard touchdown.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Swords of Podcast. Today we're going to be talking about our 31-23 wild card round win over Washington football team. And with this win, the Buccaneers have their first playoff victory since winning Super Bowl 37 back in 2003 at the end of the 2002 season. And so today we're going to be talking about this win that advances us into the divisional round, as well as the stats and then why we won this game. Alright, so starting off with some injury news and some pretty important injuries to go over that happened during this game. Pretty big one with Alex Kappa here, as he left the game in the second half with an ankle injury. Ted Larson stepped in at right guard and really didn't fill the void that well. And Bruce Arians said on Monday at the beginning of the week that the injury seemed like it was going to be a serious injury, so all indications are that Alex Kappa will probably end up being out for the divisional round. We'll see if he's available or not, but if he's not, that's going to be a pretty big loss along the offensive line. And then Ronald Jones ended up tweaking his quad in warm-ups. He was slated to start at running back, but because he tweaked his quad in warm-ups, kind of re-aggravated a contusion that he was dealing with this week in practice. He ended up still being active for the game, but did not play any snaps. And so it was Leonard Fournette, who I'll talk about in a bit, as he stepped up in a pretty big role in this game to start at running back for us in this one. All right, and that leads me to the player of the game. And I was really impressed with Leonard Fournette stepping up in this game of such short notice. And that's why I'm going to be highlighting as our player of the game in this one. Really proud of his performance this week. I mean, he played such a huge factor in this one. Really helped our run game getting going against this strong Washington front. And so that was something we really needed going into this game. With our pass offense being really hot, we needed to have a balanced offense to be able to carve up this really good Washington defense, and we were able to do just that with the help of a great running performance from Fournette. And so in this game, he had 19 carries for 93 yards and 1 touchdown, averaging 4.9 yards per carry. And in the air, he also had 4 catches for 39 yards. So that was really great to see Leonard Fournette stepping up when we needed him most. All right, so now let's get into the stats for this one. And we'll start out with Washington. I just want to give a big shout out to Taylor Heineke, because what a performance he had in this one, stepping in for Alex Smith, who was injured in this one. In fact, Heineke was their practice squad QB going back to a few weeks ago. He was actually in the middle of taking college classes when he got called up to the active roster. And so after the release of Dwayne Haskins, he became the backup. I just got to say, what a heroic performance he had in this game. I mean, he just really kept them in it, and you could tell that he really fought hard to try and get the win in this one, but a valiant effort from him as they came up just short. And he had a really impressive performance, completing 26 passes on 44 attempts for 306 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception. He also made a significant contribution on the ground as he was the leading rusher, 6 carries for 46 yards and 1 touchdown, followed by Antonio Gibson, 14 carries for 31 yards, J.D. McKissic, 2 carries for 5 yards and 1 touchdown, and then Steven Sims, their number 2 wide receiver, 1 carry for 4 yards. And actually their leading receiver in this one was Cam Sims, no relation to Steven Sims, 7 catches for 104 yards. Terry McLaurin, second, with 6 catches for 75 yards. Logan Thomas, their tight end, 5 catches for 74 yards. Steven Sims, 3 for 33 and 1 touchdown. J.D. McKissic, 2 for 8. Jeremy Sprinkle, backup tight end, 1 for 8. Antonio Gibson, 2 for 4. Defensively, Washington was able to force 1 fumble in this game, and that was by Jeremy Reeves with John Bostic recovering that fumble, and that was off of a Keyshawn Vaughn run. Leading tackler in this one, Jeremy Reeves, 10 total tackles, followed by Cole Holcomb, John Bostic, and Cameron Curl, all tied with 7 total tackles. Deron Payne recorded 2 sacks and 2 tackles for a loss. Montez Sweat with 1 sack and 2 tackles for a loss. And then recording passes defended were John Bostic, Ronald Darby, and Kendall Fuller with 1 each. Dustin Hopkins, 1 for 1 on field goals and 2 for 2 on extra points. All right, on the Buccaneer side of things, Tom Brady with another impressive performance, completing 22 of his passes on 40 attempts, 381 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. On the ground, I mentioned Leonard Fournette, and he was the leading rusher with 19 carries for 93 yards and 1 touchdown, followed by Antonio Brown, 1 carry for 22 yards, Keyshawn Vaughn, 5 for 21, also lost a fumble. Scotty Miller, 1 for 8, and then Tom Brady with those kneel downs at the end of the game, 3 for -2. Mike Evans, the leading receiver in this one. It was really a doubt if he was going to play or not, but he ended up playing in this game. And I could have also given him player of the game just because he came back onto the field for this one and put up a really good performance when it seemed like he was going to have no chance when we first saw that injury happen last week. And so in this game, 6 catches for 119 yards for him. He was the leading receiver, followed by Cameron Brate, who I was really surprised with, really coming out of nowhere to have his best performance of the season. 4 catches for 80 yards for him. Chris Godwin struggled with drops in this one. Nonetheless, he had a pretty decent stat line. 5 catches for 79 yards and 1 touchdown. Antonio Brown, 2 for 49 and 1 touchdown. He keeps his streak going with now 4 games in a row with the touchdown. So that's 5 touchdowns in the last 4 games for Antonio Brown. Fournette, 4 for 39. And Scotty Miller, 1 for 15. Defensively, the leading tacklers were Levante David and Carlton Davis with 9 total tackles, followed by Jamel Dean with 7 total tackles, and then Antoine Winfield and Kevin Minter, 6 total tackles. Recording sacks were Levante David and Anthony Nelson with 1 sack each. They also each recorded a tackle for a loss. Also recording tackles for a loss were Jason Pierre-Paul and Shaq Barrett, also with 1 each, and Antoine Winfield with 2 tackles for a loss. And then recording passes defended were Sean Murphy-Bunting, who also had the only interception of the game, Jason Pierre-Paul, Levante David, Kevin Minter, Jordan Whitehead, and Mike Edwards, who all recorded 1 pass defended each, and Carlton Davis had 2 passes defended in his return, with Ryan Suckup going 4 for 4 on field goals and 1 for 1 on extra points. Alright, so now let's talk about why we ended up winning this game, and the main reason really was just a great protection up front for most of the game. Before Alex Kappa went out, Tom Brady was really well protected, and I thought our offensive line did a really good job in this one, obviously with the exception of the Kappa injury and Ted Larson having to step in. I don't really blame him for struggling when he came in because he did not have any game action at all whatsoever for us this year. That was his first action for us all year, and it was only a few weeks ago when we added him to our practice squad, and this was only the second game he was actually activated to the game day roster. So if Kappa's out, we'll see who starts at that right guard position, whether it will be him or Aaron Stinney. So we'll see about that later in the week, and we'll monitor Kappa's status. But if he's out for the Saints game, that's going to be a big loss for us, like I mentioned, as Washington was able to generate most of their pressure after the Kappa injury. But overall, I think we still did a really solid job, even though in total we did allow 3 sacks. And I also already mentioned this a bit earlier, but what was going to be key for us in this game was having offensive balance. Even with our passing attack being so hot, coming into this game. We needed to have a strong running game to really cut through this strong Washington defense, and we did just that thanks to Leonard Fournette really stepping up with Ronald Jones being injured for this one. Tom Brady was precise once again, and also we got clutch catches and great performances from Mike Evans and Cameron Brate, which really helped out as well. And then the defense really helped to make Washington's offense very one-dimensional. Taylor Heineke was definitely carrying their offense in this one. They had no running game really at all to speak of, and that's been true all season, but I think it was especially important in this game to see if Heineke, being a backup quarterback that he is, could he take this game into his hands and deliver? And he certainly did that. He had an exceptional game being thrust into the starting role, and so that was really all our defense could really ask for. But nonetheless, Heineke was really the main source of their offensive production, as he was the leading rusher as well, so he did contribute through the air and on the ground, but that did really make it hard for the Washington offense to really score points in this one. They were able to move the ball down the field, but they did really have to fight for those yards and those scores, and to give credit to them, they had about as good of an offensive performance as you could have asked for in this one. But in the end, I think the defense did their job in putting the game in Heineke's hands. And maybe if we would have lost this game, it would have been a different story, but I don't think it really matters much because we did end up getting the job done. And so with that being said, we advanced to the divisional round off the back of this win, as now we know we're going to be going back to New Orleans for the second time this year to play the Saints for the third time this season. Obviously, this is going to be a really tough matchup, as the Saints swept us in the regular season, but hopefully we can turn it around and win the third game, the one that ultimately matters the most. And so we'll be previewing that in the next video, and I'll be definitely looking forward to that. But that is going to be it for the analysis to this wild card game. Let me know what you thought about it in the comments below and the rest of the action from the Super Wild Card weekend. And I will see you guys in the next video. But thank you for watching, and go Bucs.